So it'll be interesting to see what these runners decide to do.
Yep, and Amethyst is going to have to pull out all the stops this time.
Yeah, 17 Bird is going to be a tough opponent, so he's got to definitely go pretty hard.
And the runners are off.
Yes, indeed. So it looks like we're going to get started here, too. I hope Amethyst caught the countdown.
Not sure what's going on. Okay, there might just be a little bit of delay.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of a delay. I'm pretty sure we'll get that synced up here pretty shortly. But as every run starts, obviously, Shantae was dead asleep, basically, and then wakes up to find the town under attack, being invaded by these soldiers. So, being stripped of her powers, she's going to start out using this pirate gear, and we didn't get a chance to really kick this off and mention it, but this is the New Game Plus, where you start with all of the pirate gear you would normally find through a standard playthrough of this particular game. So you are able to do a lot of things way ahead of time, able to sequence break, and complete some things in a less intended way. So there'll be speed right out of the gate as they both are charging.
Looks like they're all synced here.
Yep, looks like we got a good sync there. I saw Amethyst get a pike ball drop during the initial charge, so not bad start for Amethyst. It's not the most preferred drop, but certainly will help him as he progresses through his run.
All right, and as we were saying earlier, this is pirate mode, so we're going to be going. You can already see the crazy fast pace of Shantae pirate mode with just dashing right out of the gate.
Yep, and both opting to go ahead and use the pike ball there as they enter the collapsing bridge section. The purpose for using it in the loading zone before you actually get to the next screen is it sets up the pike ball to hit that first charge, so you don't have to do any extra work to hit it. It just instantly explodes, and then the rest of it's a saber drop down, and they power on through. All right, so they're coming up to our first boss, the Ammo Baron, RNG Baron as a lot of us call him. Ammo Baron has a couple of different things he can do. He'll either shoot cannons at you, which 17 Bird got lucky with the second red ball, and Amethyst getting the same RNG as well, so both of them getting a decent one to start with.
Yeah, it looks like they're both getting a pretty good pattern. So far they're on the same pattern, which is good.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've seen this throughout this tournament, which is actually a little bit surprising. I've never really noticed or been known to see a same RNG seed, at least through the first boss, but it's happened a few times throughout this. So,
wow, that's sync.
Yep, very much. Big time sync here. Like, no distinct advantage between the runners. Both getting the exact same pattern there. I mean, those charges do eat time, but no runner getting a distinct edge from the first boss. So
I wonder if
be very close right out of the gate.
Clock time on PC. That would explain it.
Well, they do have global timers in the Run Roddy Top section, which might explain a little bit. I think we're getting a little education, even as longtime runners, with how this game is operating. So good to see.
Oh, nope. Apparently Amethyst got one charge less. So
he did? Okay. Yeah, so you try to watch them both. Sometimes you miss it, and if it's only one charge difference, if you're looking at one screen, you tend to miss something on the other. So thank you, Trent, for keeping us honest. We appreciate that as always.
And shout outs to Trap Tub.
Oh yeah, Trap Tub, best tub.
I would not go that far.
You wouldn't go that far? What would you prefer, like a jet tub or something?
I'd prefer a tub that isn't akin to a bear trap without spikes.
Fair.
Just personally, I don't find it very useful from a hygiene perspective.
Fair. That's true. I mean, as long as the water's warm, though. I mean, Shantae doesn't look too comfortable, though. So, at any rate, so we got this next little mini boss here, the Cackle Bat. The story is there's dark magic on the loose, and apparently it's targeting the Cackle or the Tinkerbat specifically, and turning them into these little nightmarish creatures. So we'll be killing this particular one, and it'll be the only one that we'll actually kill in this. Ideally, if you want the good ending, you need to kill all 20 and collect dark magic. In the 80%, we skip all of them except for this one because it is story mandatory.
So in order to exit, speaking of story mandatory, in order to exit this town, we need two things. We need the library card, aka the credit card, because we're going to cash it in for 100 monies later. And we need to save, so it might look kind of weird why we're going on a bit of an offshoot, but one is required, and, well, they're both required.
They're both required. Yeah, the weird thing with Ray Forward during this part of Shantae's the Shantae series, Risky's Revenge and this game both require a mandatory save to leave the first town. It's the only 2 games out of the 4 in the series that require it. So they kind of held true, but then decided to get rid of it. But then they give us a bunch of save guides and Half Genie Hero. All right, so both runners are now running through Scarecrow Fields, and you'll notice that there's a bit of a slowdown every time that Shantae charges into something.
Ooh, Amethyst getting a super pike ball. That's really good.
Yeah, that's a super fortunate drop, and that was the reason why they're running into him. Even though it's a little bit slower, you get a chance of some good RNG there, and Amethyst cashing in on that with the super pike ball drop. Be interesting to see if he opts to buy one when he gets back to town with the first actual shopping trip, or if he'll follow script and have that as in his pocket later. Ooh, 17 Bird struggling a little bit with the flesh pops there. Only got 2, so he's now going to struggle to try to get another one as Amethyst gets his minimum 3 required. So Amethyst is going to get a little bit of an advantage here as he managed to get forward. He's going to go ahead and do an animation skip on that brochure as well. So to explain that really quick, using a consumable item like a food or potion as you're collecting an item, the collection animation gets overwritten by the consumable animation. Saves you a couple of seconds. I mean, obviously going into the menu to select the item obviously loses a little bit of time. But every time that you can do that, you are saving a good 2 seconds per. And if you can add those up over the course of a run, it's actually really good. So Amethyst is taking advantage of that as well as they turn in that brochure to Squid Baron and sending him happily on his way to a vacation.
Right, and the important thing to remember too is since you don't have to menu, in fact you don't menu in order to use the animation skip, the larger your stack, the easier it is for you to save time on animation skips.
Yeah, fortunately.
If you have a 2 stack, you don't even have to worry about menuing for the second one. I know I personally don't even go for animation skips unless I at least have a 2 stack nowadays.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, as he says, like once you are selected on an item in the menu, you can use the shoulder buttons to actually use that item rather than going back into the menu to select it. So yeah, having that stack certainly is an advantage, especially if you're in a string of collecting items where you won't require to have to menu to something else within the PC, PS4, and I believe Xbox versions I'll do it. The Wii U leverages more of the touchpad to be able to use items where menuing is not required. But sadly, that's a slower version because the loading screens are way off.
Amethyst getting a second super pike ball!
Wow, Amethyst has got to be super happy about this RNG right now. I mean,
he's gotten 2 super pike balls and a single super pike ball. Bird, on the other hand, getting couch change.
Yeah, he's definitely coming up a little bit dry here. I don't expect that to hinder 17 Bird too much, but Amethyst getting a much better RNG edge in this particular run so far.
And opting to buy a Monster Milk?
Yeah, I actually like the call. I mean,
right?
Yeah, you did. And I actually like that call. I think that's an actual good idea considering the fact that he's picked up 2 extra super pike balls. He's already got what he needs for the spider plus 1 on top. So that monster milk could come in handy if he's going to do what I think he's going to do in this first coming dungeon.
That's true. He could either use the monster milk on the first boss or the second boss. I believe it's generally better to use it on the Empress spider, but it's kind of up to preference.
Yeah, it really is a preference. I mean, you could really melt this first boss, plus get through the Wetman room really quick by using the Monster Milk in Spittle Maze. But again, runner's preference. We'll see what Amethyst opts to do. But so far, I'm really enjoying watching at least the decision points and to find out, what someone relatively new to the game will decide. I mean, he's put a lot of time and effort into this particular game, so I'm sure he knows what he's going to do, and we're going to have to sit back and watch.
Yeah, it's definitely a really interesting choice because it definitely makes sense. As we were just explaining, but choosing to change your money route is definitely a curious decision just in general.
Yeah, I mean it's 10 extra gems more that he spent by grabbing that monster milk. As we're watching them get release the ham stink to the Gigalomics and perform the animation skip there, saving themselves a couple of seconds. Neither one getting the cut, which would have saved us just a couple more. It looked like 17 Bird at least gave a shot at it, but came up a few pixels short. But they did save themselves time by using that pause 3 times upon releasing the stink to skip the Gigalumix blinking his eyes open first before releasing that water fountain of drool.
It also looks like 17 had a bit better ascension because he's saved a pretty significant amount of time on Amethyst here.
Yeah, he's definitely made up some ground despite the fact having to farm out that extra flesh pop in the sewers. So
right, he's only about a couple screens behind now.
Yeah, it's just a few seconds here. All right, so Amethyst is releasing or giving this petrify spell over to this guy who believes that casting this spell will resurrect his petrified fiance. Well, that's not how that works. That's not how any of that works. And the results are pretty clear. Trent calling beginner's luck on Amethyst, which this game is notoriously known for. Giving good items to relatively new runners, sucking you in with good RNG before pulling the carpet up from underneath you.
It's incredibly true. It's kind of to a hilarious point.
Yeah, I remember when you first started and we kept telling you the same thing, Rogue, and you didn't believe us until it actually started happening to you.
Yeah, one of my first runs, I got 3 monster milks before the Spider Queen, and it hasn't happened since.
Nope. It definitely does that. It does some bad things to you after you get some good number of attempts in your belt there. All right, so they've both gone into this retro dungeon. This is an Easter egg way forward added. And this dungeon is a replica of the first actual dungeon within the Game Boy Color series. They changed some of the sprites for the monsters, obviously, and some of the platforming in here is a little bit different based on what this game is available to. But the reason they're in here is to grab 2 keys, which they will be using later on. And this game has the advantage of not requiring keys to be used within the dungeon you pick them up. So they're stockpiling these keys to save a fair amount of time later in the run, which we'll point out. So that was the little bit of a detour here. We're going to see if any of them opt to go for the Wetman route.
I believe both of them go the Cackle Tower route.
Yeah, I believe so too. I know that we've got, I think, a little bit of a confirmation that the Wetman route's a little bit faster, but the RNG chance on some items, if you're really looking for them, could be a little bit better by choosing to use the Cackle Tower key rather than getting the extra one out of here. Right,
the Cackle Tower key has a... Well, we'll explain it when they get there, but it has an increased chance of more useful drops.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, especially, if all you can get from these Wetmen, unfortunately, is a Bubble Shield or a Lobster Tail, I believe. So
a Bubble Shield, Lobster Tail, and I think that's it. I want to say there's one more, but I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head.
It might be a Pirate Flare in there. It's been a while since I've looked at the drop table. Amethyst has opted to use his Monster Milk for this dungeon, so he powered through those Wetmen because of the increased damage output. Monster Milks basically increase Shantae's offense. So he's probably going to try to make quick work of this for the next boss, the Cyclops plant. And like the snakes in the sewers, he's going to try to get himself pinned between the boss and the ceiling, just like you saw in the first phase. And that thing instantly melts under the influence of a Monster Milk.
Hopefully he has a real good phase 2 as well. Oh no! He got bonked.
He got the right RNG that he wanted, having the right-hand start, but missed the opportunity to get stuck there. So this is going to go a little bit slower than planned for Amethyst. 17 Bird's going to be right behind him because he managed that phase very, very well. So both runners, again, after 2 bosses, right on each other's heels here. So no distinct advantage. Amethyst obviously does have much better RNG from the drop perspective, but 17 Bird showing that experience and execution.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Amethyst, but even still, Amethyst has more gems, so the luck is on Amethyst's side here. Let's see if it continues.
Yep. All right, so they're going to go ahead and charge on out here, even though they bought those pirate... Oh, 17 Bird actually opting to Pirate Flare off of here. That's an interesting call. That saves 17 Bird a total of 6 seconds, but I didn't see what he grabbed on his first shopping trip.
Yeah, I saw him in a weird shopping position. I guess that was for when he was picking up the Pirate Flare while he was exiting the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Probably trying to make up for the time he lost getting the extra flesh pop, if I had to guess. But it looks like Bird is pulling ahead here thanks to that Pirate Flare. But that's going to cost him later in terms of what is it, 30 rupees? 30 monies for one Pirate Flare, right?
I believe so, yeah. 25 to 30.
So he's now down one Pirate Flare from the usual route. So I'm really curious to see how he's going to counteract this.
Yeah, agreed. Both of these runners just picking up the fossil. 17 Bird is now entering what we consider basically this game's version of an auto-scroller. So we're coming up to every runner's quote-unquote favorite part of the run. Doesn't matter what category you run, this part is always the same. You're unable to skip it in out of bounds, and of course, no out of bounds. You have to go through here anyway. So any runner of this game is going to be well versed, well practiced in this particular part. But welcome to Run Run Ruddy Tops.
The first major obstacle of Run Run Ruddy Tops. Everyone, get your guesses in. 0 to 5 is the gatekeeper. Basically, the most optimal thing to do is just charge straight forward because it's faster to die. Ooh, Bird taking that death. It's faster to die once or twice instead of waiting for him.
Yeah, because you can see that basically the tongue wags 3 times. Oh, he tried to slip through there after missing that one. That's going to cost him as Amethyst now pulls in the lead with that choice to try to sneak through there. But generally, it's better to wait because the timing is extremely specific to squeeze through there once that tongue is dropped.
Looks like Bird's playing it safe here, not even going for the tongue skips.
Yeah, I don't blame him. After taking that one, especially in a race, you don't know what your opponent has done unless you're lurking the stream. But live, it's really hard to tell because you've got the stream delay. I don't blame him for waiting it out after taking that one.
Yeah, it's always really rough to take any death in that first room because it takes quite a while to go through waiting for all of the various ceiling tongues.
Yeah, especially with this next room here, which is the truest of auto-scrollers. You got these Super Mario Bros. 3 blocks that run on a global timer, and there's no way that you can skip them forward, get around them. You have to literally wait for the up and down cycles to move you forward. This room feels like an eternity in a speedrun, so...
Right. Unlike Super Mario World, there is no crusher skip.
Yep, afraid not in this case.
Amethyst getting the final tongue skip at least.
Yep.
Powering
I don't think
here.
Amethyst has taken a death yet, from what I've noticed. All right, so these,
I believe Amethyst is deathless. That's correct. Yeah.
And these tombstones, there's only specific ones that stand up, but when they stand up and which direction they go after they stand up is pure RNG. So as much as we'd love to YOLO through here, we just basically have to respect that those are there, that they could potentially stand up and move at any point, and make sure that we jump over those proper ones.
I want to see someone record just running through the tombstones to see how long it takes them to get through those screens.
Ideally, if you jump proper and continue to hold the direction, you shouldn't lose any time because Shantae's movement in the air is the same as running speed on the ground. So if you could just keep moving with even when you're jumping, it wouldn't be any time loss whatsoever.
DW edit, how many deaths during Run Run Roddy Tops in the tourney? Several. Lots and lots already. Amethyst going for the spike jumps, jumping a little too late though, unfortunately.
Yeah, losing a couple of frames with that, hitting the platform and then bonking into the wall there. 17 Bird getting them pretty clean though. So
nailing them like a champ.
Yep, definitely. Amethyst still a good couple of screens ahead right now, despite everything that's gone on so far.
Right, Amethyst going into the first Steven room.
Yep. Those Stevens are easy, just proper jumping. You can get through without having to wait anything. This is where the Stevens will be a little bit more interesting as Amethyst comes up to the Gates of Hell, which are closed.
Let's see. Bird will actually have a pretty good chance to pull ahead here.
Yep, he actually got the Gates of Hell opened, and he's got that little trailing. Okay.
Really close. Okay.
Whew.
Wow.
Pulls off the top of the jump, saved himself half a second, didn't take a death, and now we're in the same screen as they both enter the final screen of this, which the game throws everything that we've seen prior to them all in one really long screen, and this one could be the most punishing.
Right, taking a death here loses you at least 20-30 seconds minimum.
Yeah, indeed. And any one touch of anything instantly vaporizes Shantae, sends you back to the beginning of the room. So, you know, taking a death at the end of this room is the most punishing. We'll see how 17 Bird does. He's through. And Amethyst also getting very nice RNG with those things. They're both through. So only one death in Run Run Roddy Tops between the two runners.
It was actually 2 or 3.
Oh, was there 2 or 3? I might have missed some there.
Bert had one gatekeeper and then one death afterwards, and I think he had
that's right. He tried to squeeze by that tongue, and it got him. So 2 for Bert. I didn't see Amethyst take one. So, I mean, really, overall, both runners having pretty decent Run Run Roddy Tops, considering.
Yeah, Amethyst missed some cycles in the last room, but Deathless is pretty impressive.
Yeah, you still take that and run with it, basically, to use a pun, I guess, since we're all speedrunners.
Wah wah.
Wah wah. All right, so handing over the squid oil to Poe here, one of Roddy Tops' brothers, allows him to be able to repair this wagon, which had broken down. And for the trouble of helping him out, he gives you the shriveled thing.
Which smells. Very important that it smells.
Yes, the game makes sure that you are fully aware that it smells.
One of the few text boxes in the game that you cannot skip for some reason.
I think that Way Forward likes torturing Shantae a little bit. All right, so both runners turn that shriveled thing in immediately, getting it out of their inventory as fast as possible, and who could blame them, to this very hungry dungeon, which is now welcoming them in for feeding it. And welcome to Cackle Tower, as these runners will be going through to take on the next boss here at this Den of Evil. A few things that they're going to be looking for as they hit these skeletons will be some pike ball drops. Specifically, super pike balls would be really good, but a regular pike ball certainly is going to come in handy as they go for this final key that they're going to need upcoming here towards the end. And 17 Bird getting one just in time. He didn't have one before that, so very lucky drop right before getting in this Batgirl.
Right, this Batgirl is one of the key reasons that we end up going for this particular key. She can drop either a Super Monster Milk, as seen, which is really lucky for Bird, a Super Pike Ball, which...
Amethyst getting a Super Monster Milk as well, so both runners getting exactly what they wanted to see from this particular room. That would be the preferred drop. Yep. So both have got to be at least a little bit happy that RNG was on their side. All right, taking these mouth cannons up just to speed things up to get up here, and they'll be going up to the next key that they're going to grab, the final key out of this dungeon that they will require. All right, so 17 Bird just a little bit ahead right now. I'd say it's probably a difference of about 7-8 seconds between the two runners.
Fairly close.
Yeah, it's really, really close here as they go up the vertical shaft with the updraft here.
Yeah, it looks like it's different... only 5 seconds for the start of this windy room.
Yeah. All right, 17 Bird coming up to our next boss. If you have a spider phobia, I recommend you not watch for the next few seconds. But ideally, what's going to happen here is he goes for the animation skip to walk in. I don't know that he saved any time with the amount of attempts to do it, but showing off a little bit of swag as he...
Amethyst going for a Super Monster Milk on Empress Spider?
Interesting call. I would have maybe hung on to that one, but the spider, it can be tough. It's not the easiest of fights. As you can see, what they're trying to do is basically play chicken with this spider and stay in her hitbox as much as possible. That allows the Super Pike Ball to do as much work. And to do that, you have to forcefully sit in her hitbox and take damage. So 17 Bird just melted his spider. That was a really, really solid fight without any additional buffs other than the Super Pike Ball. Amethyst right behind, obviously, because of the Super Monster Milk's increased output damage. So we've got a really close race after 3 bosses so far.
Yeah, I think Amethyst's thought process here was they picked up Super Monster Milk before the boss, and instead of using that as a resource for late game, they chose to just use it as a resource here, since they're planning on getting all the Super Pike Balls and Monster Milks they need later after Tan Line Island.
It's possible. I mean, he's still got a decent amount of gems for this part of the run, but Monster Milks are not cheap. I mean,
that's true. That's 75.
Yeah, 75 for a Super Monster Milk, 50 for a regular. I mean, it's very costly to buy those. So I question the call, but Amethyst has a plan, I think, to go ahead and decide to go ahead and do that. Yeah, I think he also is aware of what he's up against in 17 Bird's abilities.
Yeah, I believe Amethyst's usual route involves killing all of the Spider Girls on the way, But we'll see if they choose to change that going up against Bird, because I
Indeed.
know Bird's not killing anything.
No, and I just watched both runners do the cactus charge at the beginning of Tan Line. They both got a bubble shield, and I believe I saw at least one Monster Milk on 17 Bird side. Amethyst also getting a Monster Milk as well. So RNG is favoring both runners right now at this particular part of the run. Amethyst obviously needing that Monster Milk after using the super, so that's not going to hurt him in any way, shape, or form by receiving that.
Yeah, I believe Bird, between supers and not supers, I believe Bird and Amethyst are both equipped for the next 2 bosses.
Yeah, I think that they're both ready. I mean, Amethyst, I think, is down to Monster Milk right now. In that regard, he only got the one that I saw. All right, so they're doing a revisit here to go ahead and get some necessary codes. After we run into our friend Squid Baron back there at Tan Line, he gives us these X-ray specs. And now what we've got to do is a little bit of a fetch quest where we've got to find these sarcophagi that are kind of floating around throughout the world and be able to get these codes that we're going to need to be able to progress. 17 Bird navigating very well to get to his first one. Didn't see any challenges there. Amethyst is not too far behind. He's just got to get through the Mermaid Gauntlet. Oh, having a little trouble there. That's a difficult bit of platforming, so it's not surprising to see someone take a hit there, but at least he didn't get juggled.
Exactly, and only one hit's not too bad in terms of that room.
Yeah, it could go a lot worse if you really get knocked down or a little bit slow to react there. So not too bad on the revisit. Now they're going to return to Scuttletown to watch the murder of Joe, which always makes Amethyst
Joe
very
in
happy.
cold blood.
Yep. Well, actually, it was more Sky's dad that does the deed, but it's alluded to that this is not the first time a boyfriend of hers has perished in a maybe not so mysterious way, but unfortunately, press F to pay respects to Joe.
We all know it's Shantae's fault.
Oh, yeah, it's always Shantae's fault. Somehow, some way, it's always Shantae's fault.
Bird heading back to Tan Line Temple. We've
Yep.
got 2 of the 3 sarcophagi we need, and fortunately, getting another Monster Milk.
Two
Getting
Monster
another Monster
Milks.
Milk.
Got 2 of them, actually, back to back on the cactuses for 17 Bird. He's got to be really happy with that, considering how the early game RNG wasn't giving him anything. We'll see how he gets on Super Pike Balls through here. I think he got 1, actually.
Yeah, I think I saw 1 super as well. Let's see how Amethyst's run goes through here.
Nothing. Not for that part, at least. Yeah, he'll have to pick up those.
Another super for Bird.
Nice. Bird's got to be really happy with that. He's pretty much really close to setup for the rest of the bosses on the way through.
Just normal Pike Balls for Amethyst.
Yeah, there's a questionable one that happened early in that charge that could have been a super, but I don't believe he did get one. I think they were all just regulars.
I believe so as well. Let's see if Amethyst gets... nope.
Nope,
No
that was
super.
all regular pikes on the way back. So Amethyst not getting the super pike ball luck. And I see 17 Bird executing the recently found scimitar strat on the code, which I actually got in a practice run earlier today. So
how does that work? Like, I legit don't know.
If I had a thought, I mean, it was a recently discovered thing found by Esco, our resident game breaker, for all the Shantae games. And the way that I imagine it works is Amethyst also going for it too. But the thing is you've got to get the 2 scimitar strikes on both. And I think there are all 3 of those little code wheels. And the reason I think it works is because as that's spinning, somehow the game registers that you've got the right code and lets you in. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily help you break in early without having to do the fetch quest. The coding is extremely solid. There's no way to brute force that puzzle as far as we know. And it was just interesting to see them both go for it.
My question, and I actually thought of this earlier.
Esco says it's luck-based.
That's funny. My question is the code, when does the code get created? Because if it gets created before you have all 3, then that means you could technically get the 3rd thing and then save warp back and enter the code. But I don't think that works.
I don't think so either. I mean, the game has to at least recognize the fact that you've gotten all 3 pieces before it does it. Risky's Revenge has a similar mechanic with an eyeball puzzle, and you cannot brute force it either. You have to go into the room that has the code before it'll actually let you put the code in and be able to progress. So it's one of the solid things that they do. I saw 17 Bird do the 1 cycle 3rd guard room.
Looks like Amethyst is taking it safe.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean, getting caught in this room, especially on the very last guard, costs you 1 minute.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Yeah, it's extremely punishing and brutal to get caught, especially in this last room. So, 17 Bird, obviously throwing caution to the wind, but getting it. So it's a good reward for him. Amethyst taking it safe. In a race, not a bad call. So both runners not having any problems. If you do get seen throughout this part, you would be set back to the original starting cell that Shantae starts at this part. So you really don't want to get caught no matter what you're doing, even if it's safe strats, because it's painful. It's really painful.
Unfortunately for Amethyst, high risk yields high reward, and Bird's just going to pull that much further ahead.
Yep, and right now what they're doing, if you saw, they're opening all these doors, and this is where the stockpiling of keys is beneficial, because this is a really long segment. If you were doing this in a normal playthrough and collecting the keys out of here, this place has a lot of rooms, and they're pretty sizable, and it takes a while to get them all. So, you save a significant amount of time by stockpiling those keys early versus taking this place as intended. All right, 17 Bird handing over the golden pickaxe, which causes workers to work really fast. That'll open his path over to our next Den of Evil. Having a little trouble getting his risky shuffle off, but is now going. He's opting to skip out on all of the Scorp Gals, which some people opt to farm on to get an item. I think it depends on some of the RNG luck there, but he's going to pass as he had a little trouble with his shuffle there.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if Amethyst is going to choose to get these kills or not. Yeah,
it'll be something to keep an eye on. And, I hate relying on those things. They only have approximately about I'll say about a 100% drop rate, but only 25% of the time you're going to get something like a super monster milk or a super pike ball from them. The other 75% of the time you're going to get it's a 5 gems. So it's a little time consuming to kill them, as they take 6 cannon strikes to take down. Can yield some good rewards for it, but not always a guarantee. And looks like they both opted to skip it. Yep.
Looks like Amethyst is opting to skip them all.
Yep.
Also, it looks like Bird's pretty low on money. Do you know if they got 5... I haven't seen them picking up any spare money. Do you know if they have 5 Pirate Flares right now?
I would assume so. I didn't catch the last shopping trip, unfortunately, but it looks like, based on that amount of money, I would say they probably went ahead and followed the more traditional route. Getting the 1 cycle crusher, did he?
Yeah, he got the 1 cycle crusher, and he got the entrance thing. Amethyst having some trouble getting down here.
Yeah, that purple block room could be a real pain, especially when trying to use the the 0 tile breakdown, and those cactuses start to swarm you, and that cost him his auto potion, unfortunately. So now he's got to be a little bit more cautious throughout the rest of the run. I wouldn't imagine seeing him replace it. That's 50 gems to replace an auto potion, which is a rather costly thing, especially if RNG doesn't help you. But nice drops on the Scorp Gals. Super Monster Milk, Super Pike Ball. Looks like 17 Bird is... I didn't catch. That doesn't feel like... getting the 1 cycle on Amethyst as well.
Excellent.
That crusher skip is extremely precise. You have to have exact timing or you're going to get squished. So really good to see both runners getting that. 17 Bird just took down our boss. Amethyst coming in, so we'll see how he handles it. It looked like 17 Bird was using a little bit more advanced strats, like more of the recent kind of strategy for him. Amethyst looks to be taking a little bit more traditional, but ideally wants to kill him before or after the second charge, but before the scripted part kicks in, which he's not going to do.
Just missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the script of Squid Baron is he does a charge, he does the jumps, he does another charge, and then after that he goes into an eating phase to heal himself. You ideally want to kill him before that eating phase so you can just wail on him right after that. Now Amethyst has got to be extremely careful, and I did not notice. Did he save before this?
I'm not sure. I was watching Amethyst fight. Let's find out.
Let's hope so, because he did not save. I believe that's a forfeit.
Oh no! He quit the race.
He did. He did not save before that. He lost his auto potion right before that fight, and then dying there. So the game does not have an autosave system. This is really unfortunate. If he were to go ahead and retry, it would take him back to where his last save was, which that was at the beginning of the game, right after the opening segment and after Ammo Baron. So that would have been a significant time loss and no way to recover from that. That is very unfortunate for Amethyst.
Yeah, Squid Baron can be a fairly rough boss. I'm sure Amethyst was trying to keep up with Bird and just go as fast as possible, but unfortunately, Squid Baron claims another one.
Yeah, that boss can get out of control really quick, as we observed there, and he's killed more than one run in his time. It's definitely not the end of this particular race. 17 Bird, though very good at this game, anything can happen on these last few bosses. So, our condolences to Amethyst losing a run. He was keeping up very well at that point, and very unfortunate to see that happen to him.
Yeah, Amethyst was definitely with... Wait, okay. I misunderstood what screen Bird was on for a second there. I thought he was going into the Cacklebat.
No. He's progressed through Mudbog Island, and he's currently on the fetch quest to pick up the coins he's going to need for the ultimate game of RNG. Which is a nice game of heads and tails with these particular gamers in this central room. So right now it's just a little bit of platforming, quickly things he's going to do here. We'll see if he sets this up proper for the charge into the next room. Looks like he's going to do it, and got it.
Yep,
there's an invisible wall through that. Yeah, there's an invisible wall inside that loading zone for that room, which brings Shantae's charge to a halt. But he navigated that just fine, having a little bit of troll luck with that as he grabs those gems. The ghosts are pounding up.
Looks like he's planning for another shopping trip then.
Yeah, I'm not sure that his RNG is necessarily favorable, or he's not very happy with the items that he's received up to this point. So just taking a moment to grab a few extra gems for items that he believes he'll need, and we'll go from there. Oh, I think he was just going for momentumless boots there. Didn't quite get it and ended up hanging up. Just a couple of seconds lost as he has to kind of charge up his risky shuffle there, but having no trouble getting back into the flow as he grabs another set of gems.
Ooh, missing the dash here, unfortunately, though. So losing a little bit of time. Oh, and smearing against the corner, so he lost his momentum on multiple occasions there.
Yeah, it's a little slow, but I mean, he didn't get hit, which was the important part. I mean, anytime you lose that charge, and you have that potential to get beat up a little bit, and the damage increases here. I mean, all runners are running with a 2-heart run. It's the minimal amount of health. It's what you start the game with, and then what it'll likely be finishing with. It's only 8 hit points of damage. Some of the monsters in here do 4 points of damage, which is 1 full heart. So have to be very mindful of the monsters around you whenever you're not able to continue your charge, as you could get punished very severely for that.
Right. There's a lot of rooms in this whole area where you can get swarmed really easily as well, especially the ones with the ghosts. Yeah,
I mean, even though they only do 2 points of damage, there's so many of them, and they specifically go right for Shantae. So next thing you know, you've got 4 of them around you, and you're taking extra damage just because they're all right there. All right, so picking up the Old Spice, as I like to call it, the Manly Musk, that's what's required to get them into this next dungeon. It tends to be overlooked by a lot of people playing casually, but this is where it's located. And that item there allows them to get into the Oubliette of Suffering, which
that is a great name.
It is a great name.
The Old Spice is a great name for that, by the way.
Yeah, I prefer to call it that. I mean, it comes from some shadow man. We don't know exactly who he is. There's some speculation who he might be the father of. There's actually 2 characters that I think are very viable for it. But don't get too accustomed to this dungeon, folks. You're not going to see a lot of it. The risky shuffle is probably the most important bit of speed tech, and using it like he did there just skipped about, I'd say, 80% of the rest of the dungeon, which is a winding kind of loop around that you would normally have to take. And normally you pick up the boots in this dungeon in a normal playthrough. But having that now and using the risky shuffle, you just head right for the boss. And we'll see how he does on Dagron using a regular pike ball.
Was it a super monster milk? Or
I
was
didn't
it a
see the
normal
milk
monster
he used. I just see the regular pike ball. We'll find out shortly. Regular
Looks
monster
like
milk, too.
10. Okay.
Yep.
So just normal monster milk, normal pike ball. You can
Yes.
tell because a normal monster milk is you're going to be doing 10 damage with an unupgraded hit, and a super monster milk you're going to be doing 15.
Yep, and having a little trouble there. He moved ahead of Dagron just a bit, took a knockback, which in the latter part of this fight you don't want to do because Dagron's speed increases significantly as you deal damage to him. Having no problem, though, managed to recover and take Dagron down. So a rather underpowered fight, but handled pretty well considering.
Yeah, that was fairly quick for how underpowered he was in that particular engagement.
Yeah. I mean, again, it kind of shows the experience. I mean, Dagron, you know that Dagron's going to either stop in the middle or he's going to try to come all the way across and get you, and you just have to react accordingly. You know, that guy can kill a run, but, you know, with staying on the outsides, it gives you a chance to kind of react to how he's coming in. You still have the audio cue of him swooping in, so you know he's coming. And using that to their advantage, they're able to kind of predict exactly what Dagron's going to do and knock him down and start to deal that damage. All right, so 17 Bird is now navigating his way back out of here. Because this is considered an indoor area, he's not allowed to just flare. But once you get to this point, you are able to flare and return back to Risky's pirate ship. So getting out of here, no problem. And, of course, you never want to try to traverse Mudbog Island in reverse. Trust me on that one.
I don't think I've ever tried.
You really don't want to. I just take my word for it. All right, so immediately we're going to hop into this frozen tundra known as Frostbite Island. We're going to go here initially just to kind of explore around, try to figure out where that next den of evil is. You're going to see some really good platforming here. Basically, this is probably one of the more fun screens, although treacherous. You know, there's a lot of ice there. The slopes, if you stop on them, will cause Shantae to slide all the way down to the bottom of the slope, which can be extremely dangerous here because these wolves that you see around do 6 points of damage. That's 1.5 hearts. So can basically two-shot you, and then you get swarmed by them because they kind of track for Shantae as well. You could easily lose a run here if you do one misstep. So you're going to see a lot of fun. Looks like he's having a little fun with it with all the jumping. Seems to be a standard little bit for him. Normally, most people choose to glide as much as possible. But doesn't look like he's looking for items. He's not trying to use the super rare drop table that those have available to him, and is now navigating this little this chain maze up to the top and handling it without any problem whatsoever.
Right. I'm not sure what resources he has left, but if he was gonna go for all low resources for Dagron, then that must mean he's either planning to do the same for Maggot or he's planning to save everything for Pirate Master, something like that.
Yeah, I believe he still has the super monster milk he got from the Batgirl, so that'll be to his advantage. And he did get a decent number of regular monster milks through Tan Lines, so I imagine that he'll probably low resource Maggot, the next boss, and then save the super monster milk for Pirate Master.
That sounds about right.
One of the more fun screens of the game is you basically use these little updrafts to float across. This obviously was made for the pirate boots along with the hat. It's just a lot of fun to fly through these particular screens.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite screens in the game.
Oh!
Unfortunately, it's not actually a death, it's just a quarter heart, but that's a pretty significant time loss.
Yeah, you really want to avoid those spikes wherever possible. It kind of takes you out of your rhythm as you're going through here, but you know, it's not huge. Just takes him back to the beginning of the room in this particular case. Much like Mega Man, Shantae has an aversion to spikes and will take an instant death based on that.
So here we're picking up the targeting module, which is the first of 3 things we need to do for a massive fetch quest. We need to get Ammo Baron's crew back together, and we need to get him the targeting module.
Yep, so a little bit of a fetch quest segment here. You're expected to go back to a number of different places to get the required items here. So the the wandering soul that we picked up from our purpley shadow man who gave us the old spice earlier at the end, after the Oblivion of Suffering and finishing Dagron, we have to talk to somebody who knows about death, and who better to talk to than a bunch of zombies? I mean, they would probably know a thing or two about the subject. So he's going to pop back into Roddy Tops' house where we got Abner, her older brother, and her there. Hand over that lost soul, which gets identified to a very handsome, mustachioed fellow, the Spirit of Joe. And then also turning in that death mask to Abner gets you a free pirate flare. That's actually intentional for the route. It saves you buying one for the need to get out of here, and also saves time to immediately flare and return to her ship and go to the last part here. So early on, or the second trip back to Tanline before we did the escape sequence, you notice that both of the runners at that point had grabbed a sword, and this sword is now needed for this particular part, as 17 Bird is going to navigate through here, avoiding the slowdown of hitting any of the monsters. It doesn't look like he's looking for any resources. Also not grabbing any Heart Squids of Shame so far, so that's good. That could easily happen as you're trying to navigate these screens if you kind of can it up too far, not paying attention to where you are within the platforming and everything. And then we meet this fellow here who's been looking for that sword that they picked up. This is Branson, as I heard him described. Yeah, as I heard him described last night, Chinese knockoff He-Man. I like it.
Legally distinct He-Man. Thank you very much.
Legally distinct, or Chinese knockoff. One of the two. Take your pick. All right. So once he's completed that little bit of the fetch quest, he returns back to town. Here's where we give the Spirit of Joe back to his petrified corpse, and voila, he's back to life. Unfortunately, because he was petrified, he had time to think and immediately breaks up with our best friend. Such a classy guy, that Joe, I promise.
He does introduce himself to Sky's father by saying he destroys schools, so...
Yep, and what converts them to long-range cannons. So, speaking of long-range cannons, the targeting module created by Bolo obviously isn't calibrated properly, as that shot was aimed for the palace and ends up on Frostbite Island.
Definitely a bit of a miss.
All right, he's going to grab some potions, an extra super monster milk. So he's setting up for animation skips in our next dungeon, it looks like. And then that one little extra bit, so now he'll have a super monster milk for Steel Maggot. So he's going to look to melt down these last couple of bosses by the look of it.
Yeah, he's definitely got plenty of resources for the remaining two fights.
Yeah, I believe he's low on super pike balls, so this will be a little bit interesting, but I think I would go with the call of going for the super monster milk. The damage output's a little... I guess it's about the same, really, considering the super pike ball has those 3 and does 15 per cycle as well.
He also opted to get the potions, to get these extra few animation skips right at the end here.
Yeah, we got 3 keys that we got to collect here. Fortunately, the pirate gear, which this is the dungeon you would normally pick up the cannon in. You're able to just get 3 keys very quickly. You need 2 just for the initial part here. This last key is behind these dark blocks, which the risky shuffle trivializes. Normally, you'd have to go through a little bit more of a different sequence to get through this part. But getting all 3 animation skips with those potions, you always got to worry about the Ice Block of Doom, which was no threat. As again, he's going for the quick entry and getting it on second try, so saves a little bit of time versus Shantae's walking in animation. All right, so welcome to Steel Maggot, RNG, the boss number 2. Those red buttons on the back can only be struck by the cannon, and we have to find the correct sequence to expose his actual weak point, and this is pure RNG. It also changes every cycle generally, as he's going for the fast strat here. And getting that pin.
Is he actually going to get the kill?
Oh, no, not quite short. The 1 cycle. I mean, it's really difficult because the damage output, we don't get any hair upgrades, which also increases the scimitar's damage. But really good effort. I mean, he's only probably a couple of shots off. So he almost got the 1 cycle. It'd be the only way to really do it in this particular one. So
looks like he was only 1 or 2 bounces away.
Yeah, he was really close to one cycling that boss in the particular one. So really good showing by 17 Bird on that boss, which that fight can drag on really bad. Given the RNG to find the right thing, if you miss shots, obviously you have another cycle of him going around. So really, really close and really good fight. Can't complain. All right, final pirate flare used to get out of here. It saves about 10 seconds, or maybe about 6. It's not a long trek back, but every little time saved matters as we go to our final destination, the Lonely Grave. And it's kind of a dark and gloomy place, but not a lot really going on here. It didn't scare off the seagull. I mean... Well, there's not a lot going on here, except maybe this.
Except the driving force of the plot.
Exactly. The final boss shows his head, finally. So the master of all the dark magic that we were supposed to go around and collect has now brought himself into the foreground. He's not too happy with Risky Boots, so decides to take her away, and at the same time go and conquer Scuttletown and the Palace of Sequin Lands. So we've got to put this guy to rest. 17 Birds starting his final charge to go take on the nefarious Pirate Master.
I'm sure not collecting all that dark magic has absolutely no negative ramifications and will not result in a bad ending.
No, definitely not. I think everything will be hunky-dory as long as we're able to take this guy on.
Oh, he's going for the over route.
Yeah, taking the over route probably... Well, I think he saved time because of the fact that it would have taken a little longer to break through the blocks, which had regenerated at this point underneath there. So even though he hit a couple of monsters on the way... Definitely saved himself maybe a little bit of time just by taking that upper route. But now starting this tower climb, which is an extremely precise set of platforming where you use the hat, which lifts you an additional pixel, and then timing the cannons at the apex will allow you to skip up these ledges to avoid having to go through the extremely difficult and punishing Pirate Master trials. Which really puts all your platforming to test. And 17 Bird doing really good right now.
Yeah, this is a fantastic palace skip right now.
Yep. And he taught me that one earlier today, that there was an extra one you could do, just doing 2 in a row. I didn't even know that was a thing. So putting on a clinic there, that's pretty much how that's supposed to be done. All right.
Using 2 monster milks to no positive effect.
Yeah, unfortunately you can't stack them, but at least he's got that all-important bubble, which is probably the most important thing here. So
right,
as he enters
bubble...
this... Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, the bubble, really important for kind of the second part of this first bit. You're going to see Pirate Master launching a wide spread of shots here. That's really hard to dodge and definitely wastes time if you need to, so using the bubble shield just soaks it all up.
Yep, indeed, and he's doing really well with this fight, considering he's only got a regular pike ball. He's getting a lot of hair damage in. The reason for staying up in the air is the whipping animation of Shantae. That hitbox of that hair actually drags across the hitbox, registers an extra hit or two as he finishes up Pirate Master. Official SRL time for him, 52:32. Excellent run by 17 Bird. I believe that's the second fastest time in the tournament so far.
That's crazy.
Yeah, really, really good run for 17 Bird. I mean, a little underpowered for the final boss, not having that super pike ball, but GG's to him. Congrats on the win. So he's starting his tournament off with a really solid showing, and I expect to probably see more similar performances from him moving forward.
And I've got to race him on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Rogue. You're in his group, and he's a tough customer. He's number 2 on the leaderboard for a reason, and he's showing why today. So looking forward to seeing the rest of what he's got to do. He's actually got a lot of races scheduled here, very short time frame. Even though he started about a week after the tournament started, he slated 3 races over the next few days. So he's got another race, I think, later tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. I don't think his race is later tonight.
I have him slated for, it's midnight on the 26th.
Right.
Yes. So, he's got that one versus Lock Madonna. And then again, Thursday with Rogue Link. both of those going on, and then Amethyst, unfortunately, taking his second loss. Not necessarily out of the cards for the tournament. 2-2 could still pass, depending on whether he can get another win or not. So I wouldn't count Amethyst out yet, who's shown pretty well in this one. But that said, we've got to kind of quickly see if anyone wants to do any
end of race interviews.
Yeah, I don't see anybody waiting in that front. We have a race starting pretty much right away over on Speed Gaming 2, where it's Goofy versus Tina Hacks in this same run and category. Rogue, I know you need a jet for commentary for that one, or I need a jet to get out of your way. and Majadi will be teaming with you on that. I do see Amethyst pop in. We'll have a quick word with him, I think.
Yep, sounds good. I'll why don't you pull him in and I'll ping Bird.
Okay.
Hello, Amethyst.
Are you there, Amethyst?
Hello?
There you are.
Hello. Yeah, that's kind of upset about that.
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, that was very heartbreaking. It was a very rough purple block room, which then set you up really bad for Squid Baron, who, well, kind of took it to you a little bit. So I'm sure you feel a little heartbroken, but it was a really good run up to that point. What else, or what other thoughts do you have on it?
Just the Squid Baron, if I had have not gotten hit that extra time, I would have had the correct cycle and most likely wouldn't have died there. Which really upsets me. It was a great run. Probably not going to have one like that for a while, actually. That was really good.
It might come sooner than you think, because you've improved.
Maybe.
That run was really good pace.
Yeah, I think I was a minute 40 ahead going into Squid Baron, so...
Yeah, you had a good solid 54 in the works there, and RNG was so in your favor all the way, so losing a run like that, and I was curious as I saw that the fight was going bad, I was like, did he save right before there? And then the inevitable happened, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it is very easy to just lose Squid Baron if you get hit just that once and miss that cycle.
Well, I've learnt that now. Upset about that, but I'll make sure to save for the next run, I guess.
Only when you need to. I mean, obviously losing that auto potion, that's your safety net, and then being aware of that, it definitely helps. But I think every runner kind of takes things differently, and I know your skill in this game is even though it's not been all that long, you're showing great promise. So I imagine some good things for you. You still got 2 more races. You're not statistically out of getting into the brackets, so hoping to see some really good things for you moving forward, and I wish you luck on all your future races.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, unfortunately, we do need to push things along here so we can get everything set up for Speed Gaming 2. So I will bow out. My name is JT Norimaki, by the way. Be sure to follow the runners of this race and tune in to Speed Gaming 2, as we'll have another race on there shortly. And I'll turn the reins over to Rogue Link, and I believe Majadi is ready as well. So those will be your commentators for that race, and I will see you all later.
See you later, JT. Oh, looks like Birdie Boy's in. Hey, Birdie Boy, how's it going? So, good run.
A little bit of a panic.
Yeah, but it all ended up coming together.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts or comments on the run?
Not really. I really good art. I technically didn't. I really want to steal my one cycle. I was kind of close. He had about 5 left.
Yeah, it looked like you're cutting out a little bit, but yeah, that was a very good squid, not squid, steel maggot fight. So very, very, very close. Any other thoughts?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, as JT was saying earlier, I'm going to be bowing out here momentarily, but here soon we're going to be turning over to Speed Gaming 2 for the Goofy, Tina Hacks, Shantae Pirate's Curse race. So I will see you all over at Speed Gaming 2 momentarily. And thanks for the interview, Birdie.
Thank you.